Did you know that every eye roll at a question about the weather might be quietly sabotaging your entire social life? We often dismiss polite small talk as a total waste of time, yet it remains the secret code to human connection. Most of us feel like chatting about the rain or the weekend is just unnecessary noise standing in the way of real friendship. But science shows that these banal interactions are actually doing the heaviest lifting for your brain and your reputation. If you have ever experienced that awkward elevator silence and wanted the floor to swallow you whole, this is for you. Let's look at why your brain craves these shallow conversations and how you can use them to get almost anything. Imagine standing in line for coffee when the person next to you mentions how slow the service is today. You might think they are just complaining, but they are actually performing a psychological ritual that is thousands of years old. Anthropologists call this phatic communication, which is just a fancy term for words that carry no critical information. When you ask someone how they are, you do not actually want a medical report or a list of their life problems. You are sending a signal that says, I am friendly, I am not a threat, and I acknowledge your presence. It is like two dogs sniffing each other in the park before they decide whether it is safe to play together. Small talk is how you safely test the waters without putting your deepest secrets on the table immediately. If you ask someone about their greatest fear right at the start, their brain would likely trigger a massive alarm. The amygdala, the part of your brain responsible for fear, would immediately start analyzing why this stranger is so intense. Small talk acts as a buffer that calms the nervous system and lets the other person feel safe around you. There is a famous study from the University of British Columbia that looked at how people interact with baristas. One group was told to be efficient and just get their coffee, while the other was told to have a brief chat. People who talked for just 30 seconds left the cafe significantly happier and more connected to their local community. Even though the talk was superficial, their brains released a small dose of oxytocin, also known as the trust hormone. This proves that short conversations are not about the words themselves, but about the energy being exchanged between people. Most people struggle with small talk because they think they need to be incredibly interesting or hilarious. In reality, the most popular people in the room are those who know how to be genuinely interested in others. When you ask a simple question, you give the other person a chance to feel important and truly heard. Psychologists call this active listening, and it is the fastest way to build rapport with someone you just met. The problem is that the modern world has taught us that every second of our lives must be productive. We stare at our phones to avoid the discomfort of a 2-minute wait because we see small talk as unproductive. In reality, you are trading a long-term social advantage for a short-term dopamine hit from your screen. Every time you skip a small interaction, you weaken your social muscles and deepen your own sense of loneliness. Let's talk about the psychology of why we discuss things like the weather or the local sports team. Experts call these high consensus topics, meaning almost everyone agrees on the basic facts. It is practically impossible to get into a heated political argument about the fact that it is currently hailing outside. By starting with a topic you agree on, you are building the foundation of a shared reality with another person. As soon as you both confirm that you see the rain, your brains begin to internally synchronize. This process is called neural coupling, where the listener's brain activity begins to mirror the speaker's brain activity. It is like tuning two musical instruments to the same frequency before you start playing a real song together. If you try to play the song before tuning, the result will be nothing but a loud and unpleasant cacophony. A huge mistake people make is trying to skip small talk because they want to be deep and authentic instantly. If you try to build a roof before laying the foundation of the house, the entire structure will inevitably collapse. Small talk is that foundation. Without it, a deep debate feels forced, uncomfortable, and frankly, a little creepy. Think of a time when a near stranger asked you something very personal about your family or your finances. You likely felt a physical urge to step back or find the nearest exit because they violated the social contract. This contract says we start small to build trust, and only then do we earn the right to talk about big things. If you want to get better at this, try the statement plus question method used by top communicators. Instead of just saying it is hot today, say, "It is so hot today, I already missed the snow. Do you prefer winter?" The statement reveals something about you, and the question gives the other person an easy way to continue. This keeps the ball in play and turns the conversation into a fluid exchange rather than a one-sided interrogation. The most successful people in business and politics are almost always those who have mastered this subtle art. They know that a 5-minute chat about a shared hobby can do more for a deal than a 50-page presentation. People make decisions based on emotion and trust, and small talk is the primary building block of that trust. When you find out someone drinks the same brand of tea as you subconsciously start to trust them more. This is the familiarity effect, which states that we like things and people simply because they become familiar to us. Small talk is the most effective way to become familiar without the risk of being harshly judged or rejected. If you say something silly about the weather, it won't hurt your ego like sharing your deepest convictions would. It provides a safety net that allows us to make mistakes without permanently damaging our social standing. Another key element is the concept of mirroring, which often happens automatically during these short debates. You might notice yourself starting to speak at the same speed or using similar hand gestures as your partner. This is how your brain says, "Look, I am just like you, we belong to the same tribe." In ancient times, tribe membership was a matter of life and death, so we are wired to seek this connection. Even if we no longer need tribes to survive tiger attacks, our brains still operate by the same rules. We still feel immense stress when we feel excluded or like we do not quite fit in anywhere. Small talk is the key that unlocks the door to belonging and lowers your overall stress levels. If you are an introvert, small talk might exhaust you because it feels like you are just playing out a script. Try changing your perspective and see it as a social experiment or a game with an unexpected outcome. Make it your goal to find out one new thing about every person, no matter how seemingly insignificant. Maybe the cashier has an interesting keychain, or your neighbor is wearing a shirt from a place you visited. These tiny hooks allow you to step out of the boring script and into a real, albeit brief, human moment. The peak of any good conversation is the transition into what people call medium deep or big talk. This usually happens when one of you takes a small risk and shares a personal opinion or a specific story. If a neighbor says they hate the rain because it ruined their garden, the door is open to talk about hobbies and home. In this moment, the ritual transforms into a bridge toward a potential and lasting friendship. But you will never reach that bridge if you are too busy staring down at your own shoes. You must be present in the moment to catch those tiny clues that people drop during casual speech. Most people long to be seen and understood even when they are just talking about the bus schedule. If you can be the person who truly listens to these small details, you will literally become a magnet for people. You will find that doors begin to open that remained closed while you were just being the quiet, efficient person. Success in life is often just a series of successful short conversations that led to better opportunities. It is the neighbor who tells you about a job opening just because you always stop to pet their dog. It is the colleague who helps you with a project because you chatted about movies in the break room. These are not accidents, but the direct psychological result of investing in small, low-risk human interactions. Next time you're tempted to stay silent in a group, remember that you are currently building your future network. Every comment about coffee, the commute, or the weekend is a brick in the wall of your social security. Do not look down on these trifles, because it is the small things that make the big things possible later. The true power of communication does not start with deep philosophy, but with the simple recognition of another's presence.